Ethan had never been good at making friends. He lived alone in a small apartment on the edge of the city, where neon lights reflected on the glass walls of towering buildings, and the streets below buzzed with drones and hovercars. Life was predictable but lonely. He spent his evenings scrolling through his favorite interstellar shopping app, a place where Earth met the farthest corners of the galaxy. Today, he was looking for something that might make his quiet life a little less dull. He laughed softly to himself as he browsed the companions section. There were all kinds of options: robotic assistants, virtual pets, and even fully grown alien creatures that had been trained to live with humans. Some were strange, some cute, some downright terrifying. But one listing caught his eye. It promised a furry companion designed to be affectionate, intelligent, and low maintenance. Just the right thing for someone who didn't have time for complicated relationships, or, in Ethan's case, didn't have anyone at all. The ordering process was simple. A few clicks, a small payment, and confirmation through the holographic interface. The app even promised express interstellar delivery. Ethan leaned back in his chair, imagining the little furry creature hopping around his apartment, curling up in his lap while he played his favorite holo games. A small smile spread across his face. Maybe, just maybe, life wouldn't feel so empty anymore. 3 days later, the doorbell rang. Ethan froze, slightly confused. He hadn't expected the package so soon. He glanced at the door, then carefully approached it. On the porch was a faint shimmer, like the air itself was bending. A soft hum resonated in the space around him. Then the shimmer formed into something solid. Ethan stepped back, blinking. Standing there was not a furry animal. It was a young girl, no taller than Ethan's chest, with bright, luminescent eyes and skin that seemed to shimmer with a pale, iridescent glow. Her hair floated lightly around her head as if moved by an invisible current. She looked around, her expression a mixture of curiosity and uncertainty, before settling her gaze on him. "Hello?" Ethan's voice wavered. He had never felt so unsure about anything in his life. Did you come for the furry companion?" The girl tilted her head. A small, melodic sound escaped her lips, then she spoke, her voice soft but clear. "Comp Annie on." Her pronunciation was broken, almost like she was trying to piece together the words from memory. Ethan rubbed his eyes. Maybe it was a hallucination. Maybe the stress of his lonely life had finally caught up with him. But the girl remained, stepping carefully across the threshold as if invited, though he hadn't yet given permission. Her movements were fluid, almost graceful, and she carried herself with a quiet dignity that made Ethan feel even smaller in comparison. I ordered a pet," he stammered, trying to keep his composure. "A small, furry companion. Not you." The girl's eyes widened. She held up her hands, palms open, as if showing she meant no harm. Pet mistake?" she asked, her voice unsure but polite. Then a faint smile curved her lips as though she had just realized something important. Sorry." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. How could this happen? He had double-checked everything before ordering. The system had been clear: furry companion, small size, friendly. Not humanoid, glowing, alien girl humanoid. "Do you understand me?" he asked cautiously. "Yes, understand, little house friend," she replied, speaking slowly as though choosing every word with care. Ethan swallowed. The words didn't make complete sense, but her meaning was clear enough. Somehow she had been sent to him by mistake. He didn't know whether to panic or laugh. "Well, okay," he said finally, stepping aside. "Come in, I guess." He kept his voice light, but his mind raced. What if she was dangerous? What if she was some sort of interstellar spy or experiment gone wrong? He had read stories online about humans who accidentally invited trouble into their homes, and none of them ended well. The girl entered cautiously, her eyes scanning the apartment. She stopped in front of a holographic display, reaching out to touch it. A soft glow surrounded her fingertips, and the display responded instantly, projecting a series of symbols and lights Ethan had never seen before. He blinked, impressed despite himself. "Can control?" she asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "Yes, I guess," Ethan replied, still wary. He had never seen anyone or anything manipulate tech like that. He remembered the app's description mentioning adaptive intelligence for the companion, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. Over the next few hours, Ethan tried to figure out what to do. The girl seemed harmless, polite, and even playful in small ways. She mimicked his movements, copied his gestures, and occasionally giggled at her own clumsy attempts. Her curiosity was endless. She poked at his plants, nudged his furniture, and even tilted her head at his holobooks as if trying to read them. Despite the strangeness of it all, Ethan began to feel a strange sense of comfort. There was a liveliness in the apartment now, a presence that filled the quiet spaces he had grown used to. He found himself laughing at her innocent mistakes, explaining the simplest things about Earth life, from the purpose of kitchen appliances to the meaning of a handshake. She listened, absorbing every word with wide-eyed fascination. Dinner was another adventure. Ethan prepared a simple meal while the girl watched, her glowing hands hovering over the food as if unsure whether it was edible. When he offered her a bite, she hesitated, then nodded cautiously and tasted it. Her eyes lit up, and she let out a small sound that reminded Ethan of a purr. She had expected something completely different from Earth food, and the experience seemed to delight her. As the evening progressed, Ethan realized something remarkable. The girl had abilities he couldn't explain. Small things at first, objects moving slightly when she reached for them, lights responding to her touch, but then more significant moments. When he accidentally knocked over a stack of dishes, she caught them before they hit the floor, her fingers moving faster than any human could manage. When a drone flew too close to the window outside, she waved her hands, and it changed direction as if obeying her invisible command. Ethan was both amazed and unnerved. He had never imagined such abilities, not even in the most advanced companions advertised online. He wondered where she had come from, why she had been sent to him, and what her true purpose might be. That night, as Ethan tried to sleep, he couldn't stop thinking about her. She had curled up on the sofa with a blanket he offered, humming softly in a tune he didn't recognize. It was strangely comforting hearing her soft, melodic voice as he lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Despite the shock and confusion of the day, he felt happy. For the first time in a long while, someone was there. Someone real, not virtual, not imagined. Morning came with a new set of challenges. Ethan tried to explain Earth rules to her, from brushing teeth to basic hygiene, and she listened intently, repeating words with an endearing awkwardness. She asked questions constantly, her curiosity endless. Ethan found himself smiling more than he had in years, answering her questions, teaching her small skills, and laughing at her discoveries. By the end of the first week, Ethan realized something important. This wasn't a furry companion in the way he had imagined. She was something entirely different. She was intelligent, powerful, and incredibly curious about the human world. Yet she was also vulnerable, reliant on him in ways that made him feel responsible for her safety and well-being. One evening, as the two sat by the window watching the city lights flicker, she spoke softly. "Ethan, thank you. How safe me?" Ethan's heart warmed. "You're welcome," he said, looking at her. "I guess I didn't expect this, but I'm glad you're here." She nodded, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Ethan didn't know what the future held, but he felt certain of one thing. His life had changed forever in the most unexpected way. He had ordered a simple furry companion to keep him company, but what had arrived was far beyond anything he could have imagined. As he drifted to sleep that night, he couldn't help but wonder what adventures and what dangers might come next. After all, when a mistake like this happened, it often led to something extraordinary. And Ethan was ready for whatever came. Days passed, and the alien girl grew more comfortable in Ethan's apartment. Each morning, she would peek out the window, her glowing eyes reflecting the city lights as if studying the world with endless curiosity. Ethan had started calling her Luma, a name he had chosen after noticing her luminescent glow. She had accepted it without question, murmuring it softly as she repeated the sound, almost like practicing a new word. Life settled into an unusual rhythm. Ethan went to work during the day, while Luma remained at the apartment, exploring and learning. She had a fascination with simple machines, often opening drawers and inspecting appliances, tilting her head as she tried to understand how they functioned. When Ethan returned, she would excitedly demonstrate what she had discovered, sometimes fixing small things he hadn't even noticed were broken. One evening after work, Ethan found Luma standing in front of his hollow computer, her small fingers hovering just above the controls. The computer flickered as she traced patterns in the air, and to Ethan's surprise, the screen responded instantly, opening programs he had never thought to access. "I can help," she said, her voice hesitant but firm. "Learn fast." Ethan blinked. "That's impressive," he admitted. "I didn't know you could do that." Luma smiled faintly, and a small sparkle of light danced around her fingertips. "Learn, always. Want help," she said. Ethan realized then that she wasn't just curious. She was intelligent, adaptable, and eager to engage with the world. She asked questions constantly, from the simplest things like why humans slept at night, to more complex questions about the city's energy systems and transportation. Ethan answered as best as he could, but he often found himself wondering how much of what she didn't understand was because it was new to her, and how much because her mind worked in ways humans could not grasp. One night, as rain poured against the windows, the city's lights reflecting off the wet streets, Ethan noticed her standing by the window, watching the outside world with wide eyes. "Why people afraid?" she asked softly. "Thunder, rain, loud, scary." Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. "Humans are strange. Sometimes we are scared of things that aren't really dangerous." Luma's eyes glimmered. "I understand, maybe." She hesitated, then turned toward him. "You not afraid?" Ethan paused. It was a strange question, but he answered honestly. "I've learned to accept some things. Fear doesn't help if you just live with it." She considered this, then nodded slowly, as if the thought was settling into her mind. For a moment, the apartment was quiet, the only sound the rain tapping against the glass. Ethan felt a strange sense of calm, as if the presence of this small alien girl had filled the emptiness he had carried for so long. Over the next few days, Ethan began to notice something unusual. Luma's abilities weren't limited to technology. One afternoon, when he accidentally dropped a glass on the floor, it didn't shatter. Instead, it hovered in the air for a few seconds before gently floating back onto the counter. Ethan's jaw dropped. You did that?" he asked, astonished. Luma shook her head. "Not me, maybe instinct." She looked at the glass with fascination. "Control, easy." Ethan shook his head slowly. "I have no idea how you do that." She tilted her head, a faint glow radiating from her skin. "Try everything. Learn fast." Ethan realized then that she wasn't just curious. She had abilities beyond anything he had imagined. Small, subtle things at first, but hints of something greater. He began to notice other moments. When a package was about to fall from a high shelf, she would catch it without moving her body noticeably. When a light flickered, she would wave her hand and the flicker would stop. Despite her powers, Luma remained gentle, kind, and eager to learn. She laughed when Ethan made jokes, even if she didn't fully understand them, and she watched him with wide eyes when he performed small acts of human ingenuity, like fixing a leaky faucet or arranging books on a shelf. Ethan began to feel a sense of responsibility he had never felt before. This little alien girl, sent to him by mistake, was now a part of his life. He needed to protect her, teach her, and help her understand the world she had arrived in. And in turn, she was changing him, reminding him of the joy of discovery and the value of companionship. One evening, as the city buzzed with its usual activity outside, a small emergency unfolded nearby. A delivery drone malfunctioned, spiraling out of control and heading straight for a crowded street. Ethan froze, unsure of what to do. Then, without thinking, Luma darted toward the window. Her small hands glowed faintly as she raised them toward the falling drone. With a soft hum, the drone slowed, hovering gently in midair before descending safely to the ground. Ethan stared, astonished. How did you do that?" Luma turned to him, a small smile on her lips. "Help people, instinct," she said simply. The incident drew the attention of neighbors. They peeked from their windows, whispering to one another about the strange light and the hovering drone. Some were frightened, some amazed, but all eyes were on the apartment where Ethan lived. Ethan felt a mix of pride and worry. Luma had saved lives, yes, but he realized that her presence was becoming noticed, not just by humans, but possibly by others who might see her abilities differently. He wondered if her arrival as a mistake could have consequences beyond their apartment walls. That night, Ethan found Luma sitting by the window, her small form silhouetted against the glowing city. "Ethan, why people afraid?" she asked again. He sighed, sitting beside her. "Humans sometimes fear what they don't understand. That's why we're cautious, even when someone or something means no harm." She looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting the city lights. "I'm not afraid yet." Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. "Good, you shouldn't be." As the days passed, Ethan and Luma continued their routine. She learned quickly, adapting to human habits, picking up words and phrases at a remarkable speed. She even began to teach him things, small insights about energy, perception, and problem-solving that made him rethink the world around him. One afternoon, while Ethan worked on a repair in the apartment, Luma observed silently. "Humans clever," she said, tilting her head. "Simple tools amazing," Ethan chuckled. "I guess so, but you're something else entirely." She looked at him curiously. "Other like me?" "Yes, like you," he said, feeling the weight of the truth. "You're different, special." Her cheeks glowed faintly, a soft blush that reminded Ethan how human-like her emotions had become. "Special, okay," she said quietly. The bond between them grew stronger. Ethan found himself talking about things he had never shared with anyone, his hopes, his fears, even memories from childhood. Luma listened patiently, absorbing every detail. And in return, she shared glimpses of her own world. A distant planet with floating cities, luminescent forests, and beings that communicated through light and sound rather than words. Ethan was captivated by her stories, imagining the life she had left behind. But with each passing day, Ethan began to sense that Luma's presence was not without risk. The city was vast, and the interstellar network was interconnected. Someone, somewhere, might notice an alien girl living on Earth, and not everyone would see her as harmless. The thought made him uneasy, but he pushed it aside, focusing instead on the present, on teaching her, protecting her, and enjoying the companionship he had longed for. One night, as he prepared a simple meal, Luma approached him, her small hands hovering over the counter. "Ethan, future danger?" she asked. He paused, cutting vegetables slowly. "Maybe, maybe not, but we'll handle it together, okay?" She nodded, a faint glow of determination surrounding her. Together. As they ate, the city lights flickering through the windows, Ethan realized that life had changed in ways he could never have imagined. The simple decision to order a furry companion had brought something extraordinary into his life. And while he didn't yet know what challenges awaited, he felt ready. With Luma by his side, the quiet apartment no longer felt lonely. The world outside, once predictable and dull, now held endless possibilities. And somewhere deep down, Ethan knew that this was only the beginning. Luma had arrived by mistake, yes, but her presence was destined to change everything, for him, for her, and perhaps even for the city itself. Ethan woke to a soft vibration from his hollow communicator. He rubbed his eyes and glanced at the screen. A flashing alert from the Interstellar Monitoring Network caught his attention. It was unusual, warnings about an unregistered alien signal in the city. His stomach tightened. He knew immediately what it meant. Someone had noticed Luma. He turned to her sleeping form on the sofa. She looked peaceful, small and fragile under the blanket, unaware of the outside world noticing her existence. Ethan felt a surge of protectiveness. For the first time, he realized the full weight of the responsibility he had taken on. Luma was not just a guest or a mistake. She was someone who could be in real danger. He approached her gently. "Luma, wake up," he whispered. Her eyes fluttered open, glowing softly in the dim morning light. "Ethan, morning," she murmured. "Something might be happening outside," he said carefully. "People, other beings might know you're here." Her glowing eyes widened and she sat up. "Danger? Yes, maybe. But we will protect each other," Ethan assured her. He did not mention the fear in his own chest. He had to stay calm for her. She trusted him and he would not break that trust. They spent the morning preparing. Ethan moved furniture to create barriers near windows and doors, and he checked all security systems. Luma watched, her small fingers hovering near the controls, ready to assist. Even without fully understanding the threat, she seemed aware that caution was necessary. By afternoon, strange lights appeared outside the apartment. Ethan peeked through the window and saw drones hovering silently, scanning the city. Their sensors glowed a cold blue, and they moved with precise coordination. He knew immediately that these were not ordinary city patrols. They were interstellar enforcement units, likely searching for Luma. Luma's eyes flared brighter than usual. "They come find me?" she asked softly, almost fearful. "Yes," Ethan said, "but we won't let them take you. We need a plan." They decided to leave the apartment temporarily. Ethan packed a small bag with essentials: food, water, clothing, and his portable hollow computer. Luma watched, her expression calm but alert. She had sensed the urgency, but there was no panic in her movements. As they stepped into the hallway, Ethan noticed how ordinary the world outside seemed. Children played in the distance, street vendors sold glowing fruits, and hovercars zipped through the streets. Yet he knew that danger was coming, hidden behind this ordinary facade. They moved quickly, avoiding main streets. Luma floated lightly beside him, her small form glowing faintly in the shadows. Ethan realized how reliant he had become on her abilities. She guided them through alleys, sensing security sensors and hidden drones that he could not detect. At one point, a drone appeared directly in their path. Ethan froze, unsure of how to react. Luma stepped forward, raising her hands. A soft hum emanated from her, and the drone slowed as if caught in an invisible current. Then, with a gentle motion, she directed it away from them, and it drifted silently back into the distance. Ethan exhaled, amazed. I don't know how you do that," he admitted. "Instinct protect you," she replied simply. Her voice was calm, but there was a small glimmer of determination in her glowing eyes. They reached a small abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Ethan had chosen it for its isolation and limited visibility from the drones. Inside, he set up a temporary base using old crates and some portable tech. Luma helped, her glowing hands moving over devices to stabilize communication channels and monitor external signals. As night fell, the city's neon lights reflected on the warehouse windows, casting long shadows. Ethan felt a mix of fear and awe. Luma was small and seemingly fragile, yet she had powers he could not fully understand, and together they had managed to evade highly advanced drones. He realized how much he depended on her, not just for protection, but for guidance. They spent hours monitoring the city from their vantage point. Luma's glowing eyes scanned the surroundings continuously, and Ethan explained what he could about human behavior, security systems, and the likelihood of being discovered. Despite the tension, there were moments of calm. Luma asked questions about the stars, about the planet she had left behind, and about humans in general. Ethan answered, finding solace in their conversations, even as danger lurked outside. Suddenly, a low hum filled the warehouse. Ethan tensed. Luma's glow intensified and she moved toward the entrance. Through the cracked door, they could see a small fleet of interstellar vehicles descending silently. It was clear now. They were not just looking, they were coming for her. "We need move," Luma said, her voice steady but urgent. Ethan nodded. He grabbed the bag and led the way through a hidden back exit. Luma followed, floating silently beside him. They moved through the outskirts, avoiding the main roads, until they reached a network of old maintenance tunnels beneath the city. The tunnels were dark, narrow, and labyrinthine, but Luma guided them with a glowing light, sensing the correct path instinctively. Hours passed as they navigated the tunnels. Ethan's legs grew tired, but he pressed on, knowing that stopping was not an option. Luma seemed unaffected, her small form moving effortlessly through the darkness, her glow a constant reminder of hope and safety. At one point, they came across a sealed door blocking their path. Ethan tried to open it, but it was locked electronically. Luma raised her hands, and the door's control panel responded instantly, sliding open with a quiet hiss. Ethan stared, amazed. She didn't even touch the mechanism directly. Her energy seemed to influence it from a distance. "You amazing," he said, still catching his breath. Luma smiled faintly. "Learn every time," she replied. They continued through the tunnels until they reached a hidden chamber, a small, abandoned service area with enough space for them to rest temporarily. Ethan set down the bag and leaned against the wall, exhausted. Luma sat beside him, glowing softly in the dim light. "I think they will not stop," she said quietly. Ethan nodded, understanding the truth. This was no longer just about a mistaken delivery or a simple companionship. The authorities chasing her would not give up easily. They had powerful technology, vast resources, and likely no empathy for a small alien girl trying to survive on a foreign planet. But Ethan also realized something else. He could not give up either. He had made a choice to protect her, to help her, and to face whatever dangers came together. He had grown to care for her deeply, not just as a companion, but as a person who had changed his life in ways he could never have imagined. "Ethan, you tired?" Luma asked, noticing his exhaustion. "Yes, but I will stay awake as long as I need," he replied. "We will find a way." Luma's glow dimmed slightly and she leaned against him, her small form radiating warmth. "Together, always." "Together," Ethan affirmed, feeling the truth of his words in every fiber of his being. As they rested in the hidden chamber, Ethan thought about the future. Luma was extraordinary, intelligent, powerful, and full of wonder, but she was also vulnerable in a world that might not understand her. And yet, with her by his side, he felt a courage he had never known before. Outside, the city continued its rhythm, unaware of the small struggle unfolding beneath its streets. Drones searched, lights scanned, and the authorities moved closer with every hour. But Ethan and Luma were determined. They had each other, and that bond was stronger than any technology or power that might come against them. Hours later, as dawn approached and the first rays of sunlight filtered through cracks in the tunnels, Ethan and Luma emerged carefully. The city looked ordinary, peaceful even, but Ethan knew better. Danger was still out there, waiting for a mistake. But he also knew they had survived the night, and that survival was only possible because they trusted each other. Luma looked up at him, her glowing eyes softening. "Ethan, future safe. For now," he replied, smiling faintly, "but we will make it together." And in that moment, Ethan understood something fundamental. Luma had arrived by mistake, yes, but her presence in his life had become something far greater. She had shown him courage, curiosity, and the value of connection, and together they would face whatever the universe sent next. The adventure was far from over. The authorities would not give up. The city would continue to hold secrets and dangers. But Ethan and Luma had something no one could take from them: trust, companionship, and the determination to protect each other, no matter the cost. And as they disappeared into the bustling city, blending with the morning crowd, Ethan felt a thrill he had never known. This was no longer just about a companion or a mistake. This was about life, discovery, and the extraordinary bond between a human and an alien, a bond that would shape the rest of their story. The city moved around them like a river of light and sound, unaware of the small struggle hidden within its heart. Ethan and Luma walked carefully through quiet alleys and side streets, avoiding the main roads where drones and interstellar scouts might spot them. The morning sun reflected off the buildings, painting the streets in pale gold, yet Ethan's mind was entirely focused on keeping Luma safe. "Where go now?" Luma asked softly, her glowing eyes scanning the city. Ethan shook his head. "I don't know yet. But we can't stay in one place too long. They'll keep looking." They reached an abandoned transport hub on the outskirts, a long-forgotten station where human traffic no longer came. It was large and empty, with multiple rooms and levels, a perfect place to hide temporarily. Ethan led the way up the metal stairs to a second-floor storage area. Luma followed silently, her small glow illuminating the space in soft, shifting patterns. Ethan set his bag down and looked at her. "We need a plan. We can't just keep running forever. We need to show them you belong here, or at least that you're safe." Luma tilted her head. "Safe, yes. How? I don't know yet," Ethan admitted. "But we'll figure it out together." The hours passed slowly as they surveyed the station. Ethan used the portable holocomputer to hack into local networks, searching for patterns in the drone movements. Luma hovered beside him, her small fingers tracing lines of code, absorbing everything with astonishing speed. She had a natural intuition that seemed to go beyond human logic, sensing the flow of energy through circuits and systems. Together, they worked silently, complementing each other perfectly. By evening, Ethan had pieced together enough information to understand the extent of the threat. The interstellar authorities were thorough, highly organized, and relentless. They were sending more scouts, monitoring communication networks, and tracking energy signatures similar to Luma's glow. If they found her, there would be no arguing. She would be taken away, back to a world she didn't fully understand, or perhaps even faced punishment for leaving. Ethan felt a surge of determination. He couldn't let that happen, not now, not ever. Luma had changed his life in ways he could never have imagined. She had brought wonder, curiosity, and joy into his lonely world, and now he was willing to risk everything to protect her. "We fight?" Luma asked quietly, sensing his resolve. "Yes," Ethan said firmly, "but we won't fight alone. We'll use brains, not just strength, and we'll use your abilities." She nodded, her glow intensifying slightly. "I ready." That night, as the city lights shimmered outside, they set their plan into motion. Ethan would create a diversion using the station's old communication towers, broadcasting false signals to confuse the drones. Meanwhile, Luma would manipulate the energy fields to hide their presence and guide them through secret paths. Ethan watched her work, fascinated. She moved gracefully, her small hands glowing as she adjusted energy flows, redirected power lines, and stabilized signals. The combination of human ingenuity and alien instinct was astonishing. Together, they could outthink the authorities, even with all their advanced technology. Hours later, the first drones appeared, scanning the area in synchronized patterns. Ethan ducked behind a stack of crates, heart pounding. Luma hovered beside him, her small form glowing like a beacon in the darkness. "Now," Ethan whispered. Luma raised her hands and the drones slowed, their sensors misaligned by subtle energy pulses she generated. Ethan triggered the communication devices, creating false signals that drew some of the drones away from their position. The two of them moved quickly, darting through hidden corridors and maintenance shafts, staying always one step ahead. For hours, they navigated the station, evading capture through a combination of strategy and Luma's abilities. Ethan marveled at her focus and courage. She remained calm under pressure, her glowing eyes steady, her movements precise. Every time a drone drew close, she instinctively created a barrier or redirected it without hesitation. Ethan realized she was not just intelligent, she was brave. Finally, they reached the central hub of the station, a large open space with access to multiple exits. Ethan paused, taking a deep breath. "We have to decide now. We can't keep running forever. We need to make them see that you belong or that you're not a threat." Luma looked up at him, her glow softening. "How show?" Ethan thought for a moment. Then an idea struck him. "We show them what you can do for good. We demonstrate that you're not dangerous, that your presence here helps humans, not harms them." She tilted her head, processing his words. "Help humans?" "Yes," Ethan said. "Let's show them together." Over the next few hours, they put the plan into action. Using the station's old systems, Ethan created controlled scenarios that demonstrated Luma's abilities could save lives, protect people, and solve problems humans could not. Luma used her energy manipulation to stabilize a faltering power line, preventing a blackout. She redirected a small malfunctioning drone away from the streets, protecting citizens below. She even repaired broken communication networks, allowing emergency services to respond faster. Observers from the interstellar authorities watched remotely, analyzing her actions. Ethan's careful planning and Luma's instinctive skills worked perfectly. Each demonstration was precise, controlled, and undeniably positive. The more they observed, the more they realized Luma was not a threat. She was a unique being capable of contributing to both human and interstellar society. Hours passed, and at last the authorities made contact. A transmission appeared on Ethan's hollow computer. A calm, authoritative voice spoke. "We have reviewed the data. The subject's actions are consistent with peaceful intent. She demonstrates intelligence, compassion, and a capacity for cooperation. Under these circumstances, she may remain on this planet under supervised conditions if she chooses to stay." Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him. Luma looked at him, her glowing eyes wide, and whispered, "Stay here." "Yes," Ethan said softly, "you choose, but you can stay with me if you want." For the first time, a small smile curved her lips. "Stay together." "Together," Ethan confirmed. The interstellar authorities provided minimal oversight, allowing Luma to remain on Earth with Ethan. They were impressed by the careful planning and demonstration of her abilities. Ethan realized that while the authorities were powerful, compassion and understanding could sometimes prevail over technology and control. Days passed, and life slowly returned to a new normal. Luma adapted to Earth's routines, learning human customs, language, and even simple games. She accompanied Ethan on short trips through the city, always careful but increasingly confident. Their bond grew stronger with every shared experience, every laugh, every discovery, every challenge they faced together. One evening, as they sat on a rooftop overlooking the glowing city, Luma's eyes reflected the neon lights below. "Ethan happy?" she asked softly. "Yes," he said, looking at her. "Because you're here, and life is different, better because of you." She tilted her head, her glow softening. "Different good?" "Yes," Ethan said, smiling. "Better, much better." For the first time in his life, Ethan felt complete. The loneliness that had filled his apartment for years was gone. The small alien girl who had arrived by mistake had changed everything. She had brought adventure, wonder, and companionship into his life. And together they had faced danger, uncertainty, and the unknown, and emerged stronger. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Ethan and Luma sat side by side, watching the city come alive with night. The future was uncertain, and challenges would surely come, but Ethan knew one thing for certain: they would face it together. In that moment, the world felt vast and full of possibility. The alien girl who had arrived instead of a simple furry companion had become his friend, his partner, and a symbol of the extraordinary and the ordinary. And Ethan knew that no matter what the universe sent their way, they would meet it with courage, curiosity, and trust. For life, he realized, was never meant to be ordinary, and sometimes the greatest adventures began with the most unexpected mistakes.